Hello and a very warm welcome to Luke Blues Talking, and plenty of things for Stranraer fans to discuss in this week. A derby win. But before I go any further, Brian Martin and George Frank. I was watching the previous episode last week, and I was absolutely disgusted by the absolute paltry amount of Queen of the South games you could remember where we won. Well, my God, you can both have one to remember now, guys. Evening, Brian.
Evening, Laurence. Yep, great result Saturday. Still celebrating.
George, was that your first victory over Queens, do you think?
I think so, yeah. I think last Queen's game I could remember was a 4-1 defeat at Palmerston in I think it was December 2013 around then. Might have been the year
Yeah.
before, but yeah, I've not seen us beat Queens before, so that's one for the memory bank.
And I particularly enjoyed Brian mentioning to everybody I could after the game on Saturday that the last time we beat Queens, the scorer was Tommy Sharp's dad.
Yeah, that's right. That's 2006, Laurence.
Yeah.
Was it Sclaft shot that
No, it was a poxy miss hit shot, according to this
pokes
report.
him with it
We're
shot,
not going
yeah.
to let him forget about that. But to be fair, again, as we always said, he got the last laugh that season. We ultimately got relegated. Brian, 1-0 win over Queens. One of the favourites, I'd argue, for hitting the top of League One. I thought we deserved that win on Saturday.
Absolutely, Laurence. I mean, we know what the game is going to be like. They would probably a lot of the ball, but we've defended and we defended great. And when we did break, we caused them quite a lot of problems. And I mean, second half when we scored, we never looked as though we were going to lose that. I mean, they huffed and puffed. Maybe a header near the end, Josh shaved, but apart from that, we were quite untroubled, and I thought we played really well again, which throughout the League Cup campaign we've played really well, and hopefully it augurs well for the season coming up.
George, if anything, Brian's talked about we went 1-0 up. I think it was 59 minutes that Aaron Quigg scored. If anything, I actually thought we looked stronger after that.
Yeah, I think that gave us confidence. I think we kind of grew into the game after that. For all that Queens kind of created, I didn't think they threatened us too much. There was that chance for Liam Smith and Josh Lane. I don't know how he managed to tip that onto the crossbar, but he did. Man of the match display from him. But yeah, I thought again we've kind of shown up really well against a higher level opposition. I hate to call Queens that, but
They'll get found out, don't worry. Brian, you gave man of the match to the goal scorer, Aaron Quigg. Obviously, the official, the sponsors man of the match was Josh. Both had very good performances, but actually, there was a string of players you could have given that to on Saturday.
Yeah, as I was saying, Lawrence. I mean, the back five could all get man of the match, quick in middle of the park, and every player stepped up to the medal, which they had to do against higher class opposition. But I mean, George was talking about George Lane's save for Smith. I don't think we noticed it in commentary, Lawrence. George said at half time that George had touched it onto the bar, so it was a fantastic save. But as you say, any one of the 11 players and the boys come on, they're done really well. As I say, stepped up to the plate.
But let's go back a bit further in the game. We're going to hear from Ryan Edgar shortly, George. But Ryan adamant he should have had a penalty early in the game. Having looked at the highlights, what do you make of that?
I'm not so sure. I think there's obviously quite a bit of contact. I always like to sit on the fence with these things for the most part. I thought at the time he's maybe looking for it a bit, but yeah, it's a tricky one to call. I wouldn't have argued with it if he'd given it, put it that way.
But Brian, we particularly like to be harsh on referees. We were both shouting at the time that looked like a penalty. The referee's not bothered with it. Actually, with hindsight, Duncan Williams probably didn't have that bad a game.
No, I mean, as we said, Lawrence, he seemed to give everything to Queen of the South first half,
Yeah.
and then he seemed to switch sides in the second half and give us everything. But back to the penalty shout. It would have been soft, but I've seen them given, but it would have. I think it would have been the soft variety. But I suppose he hadn't a bad game. I mean, it was an obvious sending off for the boy late on, the keeper. But all in all, I mean, I've seen him in worse games. The referee, Duncan Williams, he's not my favourite, but he was okay.
Yeah, well, we'll start compiling a list of Brian Martin's referees, Duncan Williams, and you entry at number 40 straight away. Brian, we were, I think, slightly is nonplussed the right word, with the decisions of the Queen's manager, because Liam Smith was having a huge amount of fun against us first half. They then pretty much stopped giving him the ball second half, and everything went through Kai Kennedy. And then the manager took Kai Kennedy off and threw Reece Lyon up front. It just felt as if he was trying all sorts of things that weren't working.
Smith gave us all sorts of problems first half. Laurence, I thought he was getting a lot of space down that right hand side. I didn't think we were closing him down quick enough. But second half, he completely was out of the game. I don't know why. I don't know whether he wasn't fit enough, or I mean, they're full time players, so we should be getting fit now. Kai Kennedy, he had quite a good game first half, and they gave him more of the ball second half. But as you say, Lawrence, he was one of the first ones to come off. And the through line up front. So whether he was carrying something, I don't know. But it was very, very strange. And I mean, I thought they had two decent players in the wings, and
Yeah.
funny, Stewart looked a good goalkeeper. But for me, that was about it. I didn't think there was any outstanding players who would be frightened to take on in League Two, I've got to admit.
Yeah. Jack Stott had a good start and then faded out the game altogether. One thing, just sticking with you for a minute, Brian, that we noticed was that there was a hell of a lot of surrounding the referee, the Queen's players on Saturday. Looked as if they were wanting players booked, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I found it very, very strange, Lawrence, as you say. I mean, it was a dead drummer as far as the competition was concerned. And why they wanted to sound the referee every decision. I mean, it stemmed from frustration. I think
Yeah.
Stranraer had them where they wanted them, and they were frustrated. They weren't getting passing the ball, and because maybe the long grass, I don't know, but it was quite strange to see the reaction, from the referee's decision. I don't know why. As I say, I think it was mainly frustration.
Yeah, I think before we go any further, let's hear from Ryan Edgar. He'll tell us what he thought about his penalty shout at the early in the game. Ryan Edgar, Stranraer boy, the last time Stranraer beat Queen of the South, you were 1 year old. How does it feel to be in the winning side in a South West derby?
Brilliant. Any derby game you want to go in and win, and for me being my home club, my home derby, it's absolutely fantastic.
And we were speaking to Aaron Quigg, obviously scored the winning goal today, and we were talking about the battle, and I was asking Aaron how early in the game you get a feel for things could just go our way. I mean, you were right to the fore right from the start. You let that Queen's defence know you're there in no small measure.
Yeah, 100%. You've just got to. Well, obviously, I've not been starting the past few games, so when the gaffer gave me the shout today, I've just got to go out and prove myself. And out of all the games, that's the one game you're wanting to get a good result in. For myself, for the team, and especially for the fans. Tell us about the decisions that went against you early on up the park, because we were sitting a good few yards further back. Did you feel aggrieved by any of them, or was it just you putting yourself about? Well, you could probably see my reaction by my penalty shout, penalty edge of the box shout. I think it's a foul anyway, at least. I felt contact, but when I spoke to the ref, he says that we're shoulder to shoulder, so I don't think that's the case. Obviously, I'll have to watch it back and see, but I think it's a foul for us anyway.
As a fan, it's frustrating because you would have a different view if it was on the halfway line. Mm-hmm. It's the whole penalty, or it's a big decision if you give a penalty.
Exactly. And if I'm not feeling contact, I'm 1-on-1 with the keeper anyway, so I'm getting a shot away. So, but I think it is a foul. Yeah. I asked the same question I asked Aaron Quigg. How early in the game did you think, actually there's a sniff here, you can do this? Straight away. Yep. In the warm-up, in the change room, we back ourselves against any team. At the end of the day, it's 11v11 on that pitch. You are playing against a couple of players, a majority throughout the game. If you can out-battle that player and the rest of your team can, there's no reason why you can't go. We've showed it throughout this whole group stage against the likes of Ross County and Partick Thistle, who are top-end teams, that we'll go and challenge them and we'll take them on. Just a bit unfortunate with the Partick Thistle game. But yeah, it just shows that we're getting a lot better as a side together.
And does it tell you how things are going in your mind when you see the opposition starting to get frustrated and starting to pick up yellow cards and arguing with the referee, which they were doing?
Yeah, exactly. And kicking the ball away, that's what's ended up making their goalkeeper get sent off, because he kicks the ball away in the first half. When things aren't going their way, that's when you just have to capitalise on these things, and you've just got to go and keep antagonising the opposition to hopefully that they'll get these extra yellow cards kicking the ball away, and it's ended up working in our favour with Queen of the South going down to 10 men.
I think I'm right in saying, correct me if I'm wrong, you've played a part in every one of the group games. You've not been starting, but you've come off the bench.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How does it feel going through that group against County, who are Premiership, Thistle, who could well be Premiership, Queens, who are kind of being tipped for the top end of League One, and Edinburgh City, who the bookies tell us are going to win League Two? How does it feel coming through that and having lost one game?
I think it just shows how good we actually are as a unit. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of new additions to the squad this year. So it's took a wee bit of time, obviously, throughout pre-season, getting used to playing with one another. But as you're saying, with Edinburgh City being the bookies' favourite, and I've had a wee look in apparently we were the least favourite, it just goes to show that they don't actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah, so for next Saturday, does the Edinburgh City game give us more an idea about what to expect rather than playing Ross County, Partick Thistle?
I think so. Obviously, it's a team that we're playing who's going to be in our league next season, this season coming, sorry. But even playing against the teams that are in the higher leagues, it's good. It gives you a good feel of, like, when we play as a unit and we stick to our game plan, what the gaffers told us to do, we can challenge these teams that are supposed to be a lot better than us and who are probably coming down here expecting to 3-4-5-0. As you see with other teams with their results in this league group cup stage, like, people have been conceding 4, 5, 6 goals.
Yeah.
So we're a unit.
Does it put, so everybody's coming away tonight really positive, does that in a funny kind of way put more pressure on you next Saturday? Because actually we've had a good League Cup, we've now got to go on and do it in the sort of run-of-the-mill games.
Maybe to a certain extent, yes. We just go into every game thinking the same thing. If we can go and play what we want to do, there's no reason why we can't get a result. We are going into every game expecting to win, especially when we're at home with the fans behind us. We are wanting to make this into an absolute dungeon of a place. You're not wanting any team to come here and get anything.
It's not a bad attitude to have, Ryan. Thanks very much, mate.
No problem, thank you.
Ryan Edgar there. And George, I think it's fair to say that Ryan came out from the starting blocks, like you saying, bold, determined to get stuck into Queens on Saturday. And my God, he let them know he was there right from the beginning.
He certainly did, and I think you get something different from each of our forwards. I think Ryan does bring that physicality. Just what you want to see in a derby, isn't it? Someone kind of getting right in about the back line and putting himself about, and he looked right up for it from the word go. You obviously saw him at the goal, celebrating in front of the Queen's fans, and it clearly, meant a lot to Ryan. He's played against Dumfries teams growing up as a young man, and good to see him getting on the winning side.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to speak to him after the game. He was, he's a local boy and it was a local derby. Brian, tell us a bit about the goal. One thing I noticed revisiting the highlights was that in commentary I commented on the fact that Mark Russell did well. He fed it to Lewis Hunter, and Hunter produced a brilliant ball across to Ekrapont. His cross was spot on for Quigg to convert. We were talking about it afterwards and I kind of forgot about Hunter's involvement, and actually that was a key pass across to the left.
It was a great team goal, Laurence, even for the get-go. Josh Lane, found Marky Russell. A great take by Russell, and he found Hunter, and Hunter found Ekrapont, and Ekrapont, of course, led for the goal to cross for the goal for Aaron Quigg. So a great team goal, must have satisfied Tiff, and I think I said in commentary, Tiff was getting Josh Lane the thumbs up for the good, quick thinking about, a quick kick out to Marky Russell, who, as we said, had a lovely take, and Hunter found Ekrapont the far side, and it was a great team goal, and it was a lovely cross by Finn, to find Quigg, and Quigg, ghosted in at the near side post to us, and scored the winning goal. So it was a great team goal, and I'm quite sure Tiff was quite delighted with the goal.
And the end of it, Ekrapont's cross to Quigg, it basically made sure that Ross Stewart could really do nothing about it, and it was laying the plate for Quigg. George, let's talk goals because we heard Aaron Quigg. If you're signed up for the Patreon, which we'd urge you to do, Aaron Quigg was on it after Saturday talking about how the manager was encouraging him to get goals. And I want to come back to the two forwards from Saturday in a minute. But actually, yeah, we've now had a couple of goals from guys who aren't out and out forwards, and we do need more of that this season.
Yeah, I think looking at the results in pre-season and in the League Cup, the goals are coming from everywhere. And you see that a lot with the successful side is that everyone's chipping in. Just kind of touching on Aaron Quigg, I think he's really quite a good prospect for us. Another young lad who has been released from a Premiership team and is showing confidence, maturity, the right kind of attitude, and looks kind of very sharp, fit, strong for a young player. So yeah, there's a lot of these good young prospects in our team at the moment, and it's looking promising for the coming season.
And George, it wasn't my first look at Salvatore, but it was kind of it was my first look at him in a competitive game. And actually, I think we got that spot on Saturday because Ryan came out with the physicality right from the start. Probably shocked the Queen's defence slightly. They had a bit of a handful with Ryan. And then when we were getting towards the end of the game and they were tiring a bit, we brought on Toure, who brought something different. I was really impressed with the number of headers he won from long balls. And of course, his pace, as we saw with the red card, caused them problems.
I think that's exactly it. It's we needed something different. I can't remember if Toure came on before we scored or after. But
He came on 8 minutes after we scored. I've got the stats here.
there you go. So at that point, Queens are pushing for that equaliser, and we're looking to hit them on the break. And then we've got Toure's pace to run at the defence, and it was what made that red card possible. And he's a great out ball for some of these clearances. You look at the likes of Lewis Reed, who can really pick players out with the long ball, and great tactics from Tiff as well, which I don't think that's been mentioned too much. Hats off to him. What a great result against our old rivals.
And 6 points, George, from a League Cup group. Ironically, the one we got 1 point from was a League Two side, but 5 points from Championship and League One sides. Not a bad League Cup, and not a bad competition, and one that we are kind of cynical about at times as to how what it provides for a club like Stranraer. But 6 points is a decent haul.
I think if anything, you're looking back to that Edinburgh City game and going, if only Daniel McManus had been a few inches to the left or the right, and that one had gone in. But yeah, I mean that would be really being greedy. I think we've had a brilliant start to the season. We spoke about it before the League Cup about wouldn't it be great to beat Queens on the last day of that group stage going into the league season, and gives everyone that lift, not just in the stands, in the dressing room, guys like us, the committee as well. So it's a big boost for everyone.
Right, Brian, you've got suspicious or suspect links to Dumfries. You told us you had family who supported Queen of the South. I think they failed to get the story right on Saturday night, the Queen's fans, because you had one group telling us that Stranraer only won because it was a dead rubber and they didn't really care about the game too much. And just to throw into that when I say, well, they spent a fair bit of time arguing with the referee for a game that they didn't care about. The other story we got was that Stranraer, obviously akin to Real Madrid, Stranraer had spent money altering the pitch at short notice to take into account Queen's flowing football style. So what went wrong? Was it because we altered the pitch, or was it because Queens didn't care about the game?
I think it's a bit of two words, Laurence, Soor and grapes. I mean, okay, I read some guys on social media saying, we played a under strength team, it wasn't a full team, and when somebody said when they noticed the grass was long, what a lot of nonsense. And it didn't seem to. Their first half, they passed about the ball quite nicely. So I mean, the grass wasn't affecting them. I mean, it was just like Soor grapes mainly. I think, and I don't know. I mean, I think these League Cup lawns, if you do well in them, they count for something.
Aye,
But if you don't do well after just they're just friendlies.
yeah.
But I think this season it's definitely been our best League Cup campaign for years. You
I
know,
think, I think it's the best since this group setup came back in
yeah,
years
yeah.
back,
And I
Brian.
mean, I was looking at the stats for goals conceded. We conceded three. The nearest to us in League Two was Spartans with six. In our league, League Two.
Yeah,
I mean, and like so, Annan conceded, was it 21, Elgin 19, Edinburgh 16, EK, East Kilbride 12. So I mean, they've conceded loads of goals. And I mean, I did say when we finished the friendlies, this defence would be really good. I'm quite sure they're going to be absolutely excellent. And I think some people forget on Saturday the average age of these defenders was 21.2. I mean, so very, very young. Probably the youngest defence, playing on Saturday in the League Cup. I mean, they're just kids basically, defender wise. I mean, defenders are usually 28, 29,
yeah.
big, hard men. But I mean, these boys that are only 20, 21, I mean, and there's so much. I mean, you could add Aaron Quigg's only 19.
Yeah.
I mean, what a prospect he is at 19. So I mean, you forget the age. And
Yeah,
I think we've been really good defensive wise. And I think it augurs well for the season. I know a lot of people say it's a League Cup, but I think if we play that system, we'll be really, really hard to beat. We
well,
need to
we'll
get
come on to the
we have more goals up front, but I mean,
yeah,
we'll be very hard to beat.
well, come on to the league in a minute or two, and specifically Forfar, of course. Just wanted to mention in passing while we're on the topic of all things Stranraer and Dumfries that the South team made a decent start to the South League with a 1-1 draw at Locher Thistle, who were the champions last year. And actually, by the way, just to add to how decent a result it was for them. They did it without Jake Ellis and Ali Hilferty, who of course were on the bench at Stair Park on Saturday. So good start to for Alan Jenkins guys. Um, George, we had a bit of fun with Backstage Pass on Saturday. I particularly liked, but credit first of all to the many Queens fans who spoke to us. We spoke to loads of people. I'm not sure looking at it if everybody actually got into the final edit, but fair play to the Queens fans who spoke to us. But I was thinking afterwards about the very well spoken guy who spoke to us in the outside the pavilion bar, who basically summed up his pre-match chat with, "We don't want to lose the clay hole."
No, they didn't, and yeah, they ended up losing to the Clio, unfortunately for them. But yeah, I think there was a kind of nice atmosphere in the pavilion bar between both
Yeah,
sets of fans. Everyone was looking forward to getting the derby back, and it was nice to kind of capture that with the vlog. Again, kind of lots of nice wee moments. Particularly enjoyed you letting the tyres down on the Queen's company car. Yeah,
I can just say on that topic, I don't know if it was Peter Murphy's car or whose car it was, but I don't think they would have noticed anything amiss with it on Saturday night because can I just say no vehicles were damaged or even touched during the filming of that. If you heard a hissing noise, it was Brian Martin's pet python who was there, but not on film, so you couldn't see Peter the Python. Brian, as George says, actually, what we did see was fans of both sides were actually just quite happy to have the derby back.
I think to Laurence, it's been quite a while since we played them. So we're going to play them again just shortly. And
Yeah,
I can't remember what the name of the cup is, but we're going to play them at the Ecogen just shortly. So I'm quite sure it'll be different teams playing that night. But I mean, it was great to hear the Doonhamers up to Stair Park and again get another competitive game against them. Plus,
sure.
it's even sweeter when you win, isn't it?
I show them how to play football. That's what it's all about. So the League Cup is done and dusted. We're out, although we finished third in the group, so that probably gives us a wee bit more cash from the tournament compared with the last few seasons. I think somebody said it was an extra couple of grand between finishing fourth and third, and presumably similar between fifth and fourth. So it all helps. So the William Hill League gets underway on Saturday. League Two, we are away at Forfar Athletic. Brian, sticking with you for the minute. Forfar, a ground where we haven't had to seek our problems in the last decade or so. We hadn't won this since 2014, I think, but our last visit there we won, and it's quite clear there's going to be two very different sides. So Forfar are a new look side, Stranraer are going to be a new look side on Saturday. So one to look forward to.
Absolutely, Laurence. I really am looking forward to the league starting. This is my bread and butter, and I'm really looking forward to see how this new team, gels up at Station Park. Tough first game, I must admit, against Forfar. As you say, Laurence, before our last win there, with a right poor record up there. But as I say, I just think this defence hates losing goals, and I think it's going to be a right tight affair. We'll come on to some of the teams later on, but I think Forfar have signed a couple of decent players, and I think it's going to be a right good game. We'll see where we stand. It's only the first game, right enough, but we'll see where we stand on Saturday.
Let me hit you with some names, Brian. Guys coming in, so I don't know if this is them all, but certainly there's some recognisable names here. Jake Dolzanski, defender from Elgin. We've seen him over the last few seasons. Angus Mailer, defender, was at Bonnyrigg last season and was at Elgin before that. I know a little bit less about Lewis Martin, ex-Brecon and Dunfermline, but Martin Rennie from Clyde up front.
Yeah,
He's scored against us numerous
yeah,
times over the years. Scott Shepherd from East Fife. Um, James Richardson, ex-Dundee and ex-Dundee North End, I guess. Not so familiar with him. And Neil Stafford, who's a keeper on loan from Hammerknackies, a bit like our own Josh Lane. So um, the pressure on Forfar not to repeat last season's performance because effectively they were bottom, but for Bonnyrigg's points deduction. But it certainly looks as if they've gone about strengthening that squad, Brian.
yeah. Rennie, I've noted doing Rennie. He'll be one to watch, Laurence. I think he done the business down at Stair Park last season, didn't he, for Clyde?
Yeah.
So he's going to be one to watch for us. I think Slater's a good player in the middle of the park. But if we do the same game we played against Edinburgh City, and try and press him and don't let them play their game, I think they could win for a long day. But we'll wait and see. As I say, I think Rennie's is a very good addition for them, and Slater in the middle of the park. Two good players there, but we've got good players as well.
That's it. We'll not even go into the list of players we've had here. I'm assuming there'll be somebody at Forfar doing the preparation thinking, my God, this Stranraer squad is very different looking from it was the last time we met.
Mm.
We've also got to mention, of course, that we had those two home games against Forfar at the end of the season, both of which were disappointing. I think by then, to be honest, it was clear we weren't going to go down, which is our get out, if you like. George, Brian's saying that Forfar away is a tough one for Stranraer to start. I think a feature of League Two these days is I can't think of any fixture in League Two and be like, great, let's start with this one. They're all tough.
Just going to say that it's. I looked at the league in terms of trying to make a prediction, 1 to 10, and I got one, and I think I've got 10, and everyone else you could just chuck up in the air and they'll land however they land. League Two, the past few years has been like that. It's been very tight, and you never know who's going to win. Especially when you're going away from home, you can't go there thinking, Forfar we're down the bottom. We've got a good chance today or anything like that. Yeah. Obviously we'll travel. We'll hope based on what we've seen the last couple of weeks. I had to look at Forfar's League Cup results, and they had oddly similar results to start and end their League Cup campaign: a 1-1 draw on the first day and a penalty shootout win, and then a 1-0 win over their local rivals on the final day. And I think Martin Rennie assisted Scott Shepherd in that. I think those two are going to be key for Forfar, and obviously they've added some strength from around the league as well. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
And their final game win was also, as you say, against local rivals, but it was also against the League One side. So there were real similarities there, George. And I think they had Annan from League Two, and I don't think there was much between the teams in that one.
No, I think that was the draw at the start. So yeah, they I think they've strengthened looking at them, and I think a lot of the teams in the league have probably strengthened a little bit. So it's going to be another tough season, but hopefully we're up there.
We were kind of talking earlier in the week about giving our predictions. It's something I hate doing with a passion. As you said, George, you could pretty much throw most of the teams in League Two, their names up in the air, and just pick them at random. I'm going to be very unfair on Cameron Ritchie, who's not with us tonight. He actually was brave enough to put his predictions down. So I'm going to read these out and it'll give you guys a bit of food for thought because I'll come back then and ask you a bit about the other teams in the divisions. So Cameron reckons East Kilbride will win the league. He's not alone there. Loads and loads of people are saying that East Kilbride will win the league. Cameron said, I reckon they will drop points and take a few heavy defeats, but should be comfortable league winners. He's got Spartans in at number 2, solid campaigners, and have improved their goalkeeper. They brought in Paddy Martin from Bonnyrigg. I don't know if he's going to out and out replace the Pilton Shilton, but certainly Paddy Martin's a good signing. Third, he's got Stirling Albion, good forward options, and Gaston is still a good keeper at this level, fairly solid across the park. Cameron's put Elgin at 4. Hale did a good job last season. Fancy more of the same, but expect them to have poor spells. He's got Clyde in at 5, more down to the manager than anything else. He's got Stranraer at 6. Signs of improvement, will not concede too many, but might not score lots either. 7, might surprise some folk. Edinburgh City, don't think they can repeat last season, and their small squad will hamper them. Come back to them in a minute, but I think their squad's only about 14 or 15. 8, Forfar, signs of improvement, but lacking in areas. I hope we're still seeing that after Saturday. 9, Dumbarton, all depends on how quickly they catch the teams above them. 2 points behind after game 1 is good, but 8 points behind, I know what he's saying. And Cameron's got Annan at 10th, fewer standout players and conceding for fun in the cup. Well, they weren't the only ones that conceded for fun. Brian, what do you make a League Two this season?
Well, I mean, I'm the same as George. I mean, you've got to fancy Bride, you know what I mean, with a firepower up front and their midfielders. You know, you've just got to fancy them. But defensive wise, I don't know. I know they signed the boy Breen for, I think it was Dunfermline during the week, so that strengthens them up on that side, the left hand side. But I don't know that their defence to me is it's still a wee bit suspect. I don't think he's not added that many to the defence. He's added plenty of firepower. But you know, usually the team with the biggest resources in League Two, quite a lot of like a lot of leagues, you know, the heavy resource team usually wins it. They've got the most money, so I know it doesn't win everything, but I think they'll probably win it. I do. I mean, last season I said I'd wait to see the other teams in action.
Yeah.
And when Peterhead were at Stair Park in October, I said I think they'll win the league. You know, they looked the best team. I didn't really fancy East Fife because we beat them, you know, 3 times, didn't we? So, you know, we always seem to do well against East Fife. But you know, as I say, I think Annan might struggle. I think they signed Keith Watson today. I think it was or yesterday. So he's quite a good, reliable defender. I know they've been struggling defence wise. So you know, I mean, he should strengthen that defence of theirs. But you know, there's something no right at Annan. I don't know what it is. I know that they've got big financial problems, so they'll be one to watch, I think. But I would just like to see the rest of the teams, and then I can maybe give them a final order. But as I've said, Stranraer will be very, very hard. I think this defence absolutely hate to lose goals, you know, and I think will be very, very hard to beat. And if we can get things going forward, we know Hughes is tipped to be a really good player. You know, I think we could get the best of them. You know, you know, a game basically. You know, I think we'll not be diddies in this thing. That's one thing which some of the guys on social media seem to Stranraer bottom, but I can't see it at all.
George, I was quite interested. I know you've probably been like me listening to Craig Telford and Sean McGuigan's marathon SPFL, the lower league preview, basically 10 and a half hours long, of which I think pretty much almost 3 hours or over 3 hours was in League Two. So I've yet to listen to all, but I've listened to the League Two. segment right through. I listened to four for a second time just to see what they were saying about them. Um, some of the things they said surprised me. I was interested to hear their chat about Annan, though. They were like, they were talking about Tommy Goss departing and what could be the reason behind that. Did he not get on with Willie Gibson? As Brian said, there's something just doesn't feel quite right about Annan at the moment. Might all change when they win 10-0 on Saturday.
I was thinking that looking at the table, the only ones I can really set apart are the likes of Annan with the kind of talk around there's normally no smoke without fire around these things, and obviously there is something wrong, whatever it may be. And I still think there'll be no mugs and there'll be a highly
Yeah.
competitive side in League Two. And obviously Dumbarton with the points deduction. Again, that's two sides that you can say they've got a disadvantage going into the season. EK obviously have a massive advantage going into the season because, they've got as much money as they want to chuck at it. And traditionally you look at Kelty, Queen's Park, these sides that have had that kind of money. You could probably include East Fife and Peterhead to some extent. They're well backed. Then they've gone on and done something. So yeah, I think it's a big mix up in the middle. And I don't know how much there is to the Annan stuff, but I think Annan and Dumbarton you would probably say, they're up against it a little bit to at least to begin with.
Yeah, Dumbarton, we're being told, George, have sold about 700 or 800 season tickets already. I'm also thinking a 5-point deduction in July or even before July is probably easier, if you can say that, to deal with than one in the middle of winter when you're already struggling a bit like Bonnyrigg were last season.
Yeah, you look at Bonnyrigg and that was just kind of piling on the misery for them last season, I think. But Dumbarton, yeah, it's also that's going to be an incentive for them in some ways that the odds, the deck's being
Cameron
stacked against
says,
them.
yes, Cameron says win the first game. Suddenly they're only 2 points behind.
Yeah.
And it becomes almost not an issue. Brian, one of the other things that the guys were saying in the terrace that interested me was they were talking about Forfar, and they were saying that Forfar, were a hair's breadth away from being bottom last season. And Craig Telfer said that he didn't see Forfar as a club who should ever be near the bottom of League Two. Now, here's a question for you, Brian. Which club should be near the bottom of League Two? Because to be honest, when I go through all 10, I'm kind of thinking, Forfar are no really any bigger than us. Equally, we are certainly not bigger than Forfar.
Yeah.
But to me, there are no obvious candidates. Somebody is going to be bottom this season that we're actually thinking have put together a decent squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, Laurence, isn't it? I listened to I listened to that podcast myself, and I must admit, the Forfar thing, I mean, why should you say Forfar, or
That was
shouldn't
my
have been near the
point.
bottom
Yeah,
of
yeah,
League Two? I mean, any is convenient. If you have a bad season,
yeah,
like us a couple of seasons ago, injuries, suspensions, it can happen. But I didn't agree with them. They said that they couldn't understand why Stranraer signed three St Cadoc's players. I
yeah,
mean, I would think these boys know each other's game. So
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
if you sign the three of them, and they're all, I mean, Tiff knows League Two. He knows they're good enough to step up. I mean, BJ Coll's already played in the league. We know Ronan Hughes is a right good player, and if he gets fit, one of the stars of League Two. And Danny McManus seems to come onto a game. So I mean, the three of them look right good players, and they know each other's game. And I don't understand why. Well, if one went to one club, one went to another. I think if you fancy players, no matter how you think how poor or good they are, sign them. If you think they're good enough for League Two, the three of them, that's fine by me, and they know each other's games. So I couldn't get that in, but it's a signing policy which fans aren't used to in League Two, and that's how I think you're getting. Oh, it looks like getting a poor signing policy. But I think I told you boys, Edinburgh City did exactly the same signing policy last season. Into the lower leagues. I mean, arguably, the West of Scotland League is maybe just as strong as the Lowland League. Clydebank come up into the Lowland League and are sitting top, I think, after 2 games. So I mean, the West of Scotland League is a good standard. I mean, and it's not that far away for League Two. And there's not a million miles. away from you.
It's interesting, Brian, because I think the very top teams in the West of Scotland League are probably as good as the very top teams in the Lowland. So
Absolutely.
top end of the Lowland's good, but I think there's a lot of stuff further down. It's getting stronger, that league, but I think there
Yeah.
are teams further down that ain't that great. I was at Tranent and Berwick last night, ended up 0-0, and I wondered really after a couple of hours, there was a long stoppage for an injury to keep. I wondered why I'd bothered. Well, it's a nice summer's night and it's a nice ground. I'd never been at Foresters at Tranent before, but I think my take at the end of it was that both teams were lucky to get a point out of the game. To be honest, it was pretty awful stuff. Loads of commitment, but awful stuff. George, I was also listening to what Craig Telfer said about the signing policy. The one thing that I was thinking when I was listening to him and I wanted to shout at him was that Tiff had identified Jordan Stewart and Scott Ruff months ago. That to me gives me a bit of confidence that, as far back, I think somebody said as far back as February or March, he'd already decided I'm going to get these two in. He must be quite comfortable with what he's going to get from them.
Yeah, he's obviously had them picked out for a while, but also you look at the St. Caddick slot. He's coached them. There's people on the coaching staff as well who know them very well. Martin Fellas is in the dugout with him, and yeah, it's a group of players that he's brought in as well that is clearly cohesive. You've heard a lot of talk from the dressing room about how together the players are already starting the season,
Yeah.
and that's where that comes from. So yeah, can only bode well, hopefully.
And that's more encouraging to me because I'm not going to start naming names, but a player who was there last season said the dressing room's already better this season. There's more togetherness this season, even after only a few weeks than there was last season. So that encourages me. Um, Brian, one of the interesting ones at Edinburgh City, fairly early on, we were told they were going to operate with a squad of maybe about 14 players, which seems incredibly small. And one thing that also they're doing is they're bringing in youngsters. There's a guy actually playing for Edinburgh City first team now who my son played with at primary school. So,
Right.
that's going to make the guy 17 or 18. So
Yeah.
he's a brilliant manager, but he's going to have to be brilliant to repeat that with such a small squad.
Well, yeah, I think you're trying to get me into trouble with Edinburgh City fans, Lauren, because I was, I was saying they'll be down the bottom this season, but I mean, I was just looking at their pool of players. I mean, can they be as good as last season? I don't think so. I can't see it. As you say, he seems to be quite a good manager. The
Yeah,
manager, but I don't know. I'd be very surprised as you say, Lawrence, 2 or 3 injuries, and they're going to really
yeah,
struggle.
yeah,
I think we were the same when Aggie was about, a couple of seasons ago. I mean, we were plucking kids for the bench, and League Two is any league, I suppose, it's hard, but League Two against these men, I mean, when you come up against them, very, very hard. But I mean, I could just go back to Scott Ruff, Lawrence. I mean, he looks as though he's played, at our level of football for years. I think he's been fantastic. I know we'll go back to the League Cup, it's just a League Cup, but I think him and Reid have looked as though they played together for, donkey's ages. They look so comfortable together.
yeah. Might just be the League Cup, but it's games against players who are training full time, and you'd expect to. Is it harsh to say know a bit more about the game? I don't know what the difference is, but have a bit more game management, a bit more nous about them. A couple other interesting ones. So Edinburgh City basically are going to do well to repeat last season. Elgin, have we got any reason to think that they're going to be any better or worse than last season? And Spartans, to me, George, disappointed slightly last season. And apart from Paddy Martin, who I mentioned, I'm not conscious that they've made any changes really.
No, no, that was one thing that stuck out. No big changes. I think the big weakness for me with Spartans, going back a couple of seasons is, no offense to him, was the goalkeeping department. And I think Paddy Martin, we spoke about it when we were at EK watching their game against Bonnyrigg, how good a keeper he is for this level. I think he's a really good addition. I think with Elgin, Josh O'Connor, certainly on paper looks a good addition up top. They've added Miko Virtanen from, I think he was at Alloa Athletic, wasn't he? Quite a kind of culture midfielder. Losing Jake Dolzanski and Dejon Golding. two big losses, and Golding obviously provides a lot of their kind of flair and creativity. Certainly produced a bit against us last season. Aidan Glavin as well. I thought he was a good keeper for them. Don't know how good the lad from Aberdeen is that's come in for him. So yeah, a lot of question marks, and I think it's hard to tell whether Elgin will be better than they were. Um, Much the same with Spartans. I don't know whether they've strengthened enough to climb the table from where they were. Um, but all will be revealed.
Well, we revealed, I think, Brian, the other two clubs to touch on are Clyde and Stirling. Now, you get into a wee bit of what with Stirling fans last season. And I have to say, like you, I wasn't that impressed with Stirling.
No,
To be positive from their point of view was they got a fair number of points against us, but my God, they were lucky in that game at Fourth Bank in December.
yeah,
We hammered them at Stair Park, and then we disappointed against them. They were a team that we kind of struggled in some respects to beat, but they never looked that great to me.
yeah,
Clyde the same.
yeah,
We really Clyde were a bogey for us, but they weren't that
yeah,
great.
I know. Just go back to just quickly on back to Spartans. I've been Paddy Martin is probably their best signing, and
Yeah,
Elgin. I like the boy McIver, Jack McIver. He's
yeah.
came for Bucky. The manager of Elgin knows him pretty well,
He
and
was there last season, was he
he
no?
played at Stair Park last season.
Yeah, yeah,
I like to look at him. I think he's quite. He'll be one to watch in the league this season, McIver. But as you say, I've got for Stirling, Lee Hamilton probably a good sign for them. Maybe keeping them fit could be the biggest problem.
yeah,
Uh, even with Stranraer, he was injured quite a lot, and with Clyde he was injured. So I think keeping him fit could be a big problem for them. And who's other Clyde? I've
yeah,
got of course Jinky Hilton. I've got Jinky doing. He
yeah,
could be a
yeah,
good player for them. But Clyde, I'll have to wait to see them. Their Clyde, their fans have got them winning the league, but I don't know. I'll have to wait to see what they're like.
I had them winning the league last year, to be fair.
That's very true.
And to be fair, it wasn't just the Clyde fans last year; it was the media in general. The one I struggle with is I cannot pick out an obvious candidate for 10th place, and I'm with Brian. I think we'll just need to wait and see what happens over the next few weeks and see what teams look like. George, you have got a blue and beautiful shirt hanging up behind you. I've got a lovely lilac or a perfect purple hanging up behind me. What news have you got in terms of the new tops going on sale?
News is that me and you are just fashion icons these days. Everyone needs to take a leaf out of our books. Yeah, so obviously the lilac top, I have to be very careful about the correct using the correct color terminology. Went on sale Saturday. That's going to be on sale, I think, probably next week, along with the third top, which is coming soon. Can't reveal anything about that.
I did ask the chairman. Oh, Brian's making a mug out of us all.
Are they on sale as well, Brian?
How's
Is that
that?
Kyle Turner?
That's Katie.
Has he got a mug of you?
I was actually
You should have
thinking,
George.
George, that sorry, I just finished what I was going to say. The chairman Ian Dugan would only confirm that the third top was neither blue nor lilac. So absolutely no news being given away there. I was also thinking, George, that if Stranraer's marketing department, such as it is looking for an idea, maybe we could get Stranraer braces in tribute to Brian Martin.
Yeah,
Great idea, Lon.
needs to
In case he
happen.
needs them replaced.
Yeah. So in terms of the on sale dates, the home kit is going to be on sale online probably today, and that this is going out. And we've also got training tops going on sale today as well. So you'll be able to order them pretty much hopefully after you've listened to this, or if not this evening. Lilac kit and the third kit will be out next week. And we should be playing in the blue kit on Saturday, but we'll start wearing the change kits in the coming weeks. And they're all looking great, I think. They've all gone down really well. Sales have been fantastic. So if you're looking for a present for someone or looking to upgrade your wardrobe, you know what to do.
I don't know about Brian. I definitely need to update or upgrade my wardrobe. I'd actually asked you to get a blue top left aside for me once they became available, George. But when we were recording Backstage Pass on Saturday and Ian showed me the lilac top, I thought, no, I'll have one of those now. Providing you managed to get one big enough for me, and he obliged. What else is going on at the club we're talking about? So this is Luke Blues talking. What else is happening there, George?
Yeah, so as you both know, we've been kind of throwing quite a lot of effort towards the Patreon with the new season kicking off. There's the new behind the goals videos that have come out. So we've got James Verity capturing footage at pitch side, which is a good addition, and it seems only right to kind of make something out of that. So we've got behind the goals. You can hear all the sights and sounds of around the ground, including the cheeky words that some fans like to shout. But also, I think anyone who's signed up to Patreon will have listened to the Back to the Bandstand podcast, which kind of chats to former players. We're looking at adding a new podcast called Look Blues Talking 2. So that's going to be an offshoot of this, kind of similar kind of setup, but talking about specific topics or kind of longer chats about certain things, whether it's kind of past things or current things. So allows us to kind of spend a good amount of time chatting about the one thing and really kind of doing as they'd like to say, a kind of deep dive on it, bringing up some old footage and pictures and that kind of thing. So Patreon is, for me, I mean, I do a lot of the work towards it. I think it's worth a tenner a month if you're into Stranraer. I think that's what's that, about 3 coffees to Brian from Costa. So not too much. If you're into that and you're looking for something more to watch and to listen to.
Maybe we could have asked, there was the hit back in the day, Martika's Kitchen. Maybe we could have Martin's Kitchen, given what we're seeing in the background tonight. Or actually,
dishes are washed, Laurence. You see that, mate?
What's that?
The dishes are washed. They're all dried away.
Well, to be honest, I'm thinking you could maybe get sponsorship from Fairy Liquid, given that they've been on prominent display for the whole of this evening's Luke Blues talking, Brian. Anyway, I think that probably wraps us up for this week. Great to be back. I missed the last 3 weeks. I almost had the chance to take in a local game in Germany, but of all things, my wife had booked us into a big event locally where we were staying, which was a revolved around medieval jousting. That was pretty exciting, but both my son Andrew and I said, well, it's a shame we couldn't have got the football, but never mind. It was a little team called TSV Geltendorf, who we could have gone to see. So sadly missed that. But one of the highlights of the holiday was actually being able to sit and watch Partick Thistle v Stranraer live, which felt really strange or really interesting, being in Bavaria basically. Being able to watch the Blues live on the iPad over there. Anyway, that's a long way round to say I'm excited to be back, and what better way to return than seeing us beat Queen of the South.
Here we are, full time at the Ecogen Stadium at Stair Park. Stranraer 1, Queen of the South 0.